RW's Old Guy is back with another random ass daily match review, and this is a damn good one. Nice choice, Dylan, my man. All right, so we got Kenny Omega versus Joey Janela. It's on episode 2 of AEW Dark on October 15th, 2019 in Boston, Massachusetts, and it's an unsanctioned match, or what they call a lights out match. All right, so the reason this match came about was that Omega wanted a match on Dynamite, and he didn't get one, or doesn't have one. So he goes to the Bucks and says, "How come I don't have a match on Dynamite?" And the Bucks say to him, "You've gotten beat up a few times by Moxley. You got thrown through a glass table. Take the week off. Don't worry about it." And Omega says, "Well, you know what? I got a match tonight on Dark." And Matt Jackson says, "Okay, well, you know what? Wins, losses matter. And have an enhancement match." Omega responds with, "Well, I got a match tonight with George Janela, and it's a lights out match, and I want it unsanctioned." I don't know why I said them both, because they're both the same thing, right? Anyway, so the Bucks look exasperated, as if to say, "Come on, dude, what are you thinking?" And Omega says, "Can you do this for me? I need to do this. Can you do it for me?" And Matt Jackson says, "What you need to do is start taking care of yourself." All right. So then we go to the intros of the match. Joey Janela comes out to his music, and it's kind of a cool song. And it starts with, "He's a bad, bad boy." So apparently he's a bad, bad boy because of the sunglasses he wears. He wears the bad boy vision glasses. And so he has the AEW has his top 10 ratings. They have 1-loss ratings. They really are using stats for this to make it wins and losses matter, because they'll have top 10s, and you move up the standings and you get title matches and all that. At this point, Janela has an overall record of 0-1, and his singles record is 0-0. And he gets to the ring and he's getting the crowd fired up. He's gesturing to them and all that stuff. Then Omega comes out. And his overall record is 2-3 with a singles record of 1-2. And so continuing with the story, he needs a win. He needs a win for his own self-confidence, because he's feuding with Jon Moxley, and he's got to get he's got to be able to fight this guy. So he can't go in there, would be mentally not 100%. But I find it funny that he wants to have an unsanctioned match, which don't register on a 1-loss record, against a guy like Joey Janela. But hey, what can you say? You want to fight, you want to fight. No problem. Okay, so we have Kenny Omega is ready, right? He's ready. Joey Janela is ready. The crowd is chanting Kenny, so I'm going to assume they're ready. So the referee rings the bell, and here we go. Janela leaves the ring right away and brings a chair into the ring. Omega says on the chairs, and he stomps Janela a few times in the corner. Omega hits a chop and an elbow to Janela as the Terminator chant breaks out. Or a clap, I should say. Omega with more chops and kicks in another corner. Janela responds with a chop and punches to Omega in a corner. Omega throws Janela back into the same corner and nails Janela with chops and kicks. Omega whips Janela into the opposite corner, charges Janela. Janela dodges. Janela then proceeds to run the ropes and ducks a clothesline and hits Omega with a hurricanrana. Nice pop from the crowd, so therefore he poses for them. Janela hits Omega with a tope suicida. Looked really good. Janela slams Omega's head into the ring bell. Ding, ding. Janela throws about 6 chairs into the ring. Janela pulls out a ladder from under the ring. Back in the ring, Janela hits Omega with an elbow into a corner. Janela starts stacking up some chairs in the middle of the ring. But his back is to Omega, so Omega decides to hit Janela with a few forearms to the back. Good idea. Omega whips Janela into a corner. Janela reverses Omega into that corner, and then Janela charges Omega and eats a boot. Omega eventually runs at Janela and eats a chair. Janela stacks the chairs back up, and still his back is to Omega. So Omega decides to hit what Excalibur calls a Kutaro Crusher by Omega. And the Kutaro Crusher looks like Omega leaped over the back of Janela and then face plants Janela into the mat, or in this case, chairs. Janela, stop being a dumbass and posing and turning your back to your opponent. It's like you want to lose, right? What the fuck is wrong with you? Anyway, as a result, both guys do take bumps on the chairs and they sell for a little bit. Omega does his Terminator bit where he hits the mat, and the crowd also the crowd claps along. And he hits a tope suicida to Janela. Omega almost flew over the barricade. He jumped so high. Because when you do a suicida, you kind of flip over as you go over the rope. And the back of his legs hit the barricade, and he kind of fell like halfway on his back and a bit on his head, hit the ground. And it looked good, but it also looked really dangerous. I thought he hurt himself. The crowd popped for it, so I guess that's what got him to get up and give a thumbs up to the crowd, and they popped for him again. Okay, so Omega proceeds to throw Janela into the ring steps, and right when you hear that big that hollow bang of hitting the ring steps, JR says, "Oh man, that's not a good flight for Janela. Lots of turbulence." Good line. The Terminator clap happens again. Omega pulls out a table and puts it in the ring, upside down. Both men are back in the ring, and Omega hits a missile dropkick on Janela for a 2 count. Omega hits the You Can't Escape to Janela for a 2 count. Apparently, you can't escape from the You Can't Escape. Janela jams a chair to Omega's stomach and then hits Omega in the back with a chair. Omega dodges a chair and then hits Janela with a dragon suplex and then another dragon suplex. On the apron, Omega attempts to dragon suplex, but Janela dodges with some elbows. Janela then picks up Omega in a fireman's carry, but Omega wiggles out and eventually hits Janela with a dragon suplex on the apron, and Janela falls to the floor. Omega goes down and picks up Janela, and picks up Janela in an electric chair, and walks up the ring steps. Omega is going for the one-winged angel when Janela escapes and then nails Omega with a friggin' German suplex off the top. I mean, wham, right on the floor. Just that splat. Oh. Omega sold it perfectly. He pretty much like crumpled into himself. He's like, his legs are over his head and he's halfway in the barricade, and it looked really good. Crowd popped huge for it. Great spot. Both men are now selling on the floor. And Janela would eventually get back in the ring, and Janela is still on the outside, and he will set up a table bridging those ring steps and the ring apron. So it's a table between the ring apron and the stairs, or bridging the ring apron and the stairs. Both men are back in the ring, and Janela leans. Back in the ring. Excuse me. Back in the ring, Janela leans a ladder into a corner. Janela whips Omega into the ladder twice. And let's see here. Where am I at? I'm sorry, guys. Janela tries to whip Omega again into the ladder for a 3rd time, but Omega reverses and whips Joey Janela into the ladder. Omega tries to whip Janela into the ladder again, but Janela reverses Omega into towards the ladder, but Omega stops himself from hitting the ladder with his foot and then responds with an elbow to Janela's head. Janela hits Omega with a dragon suplex on the ladder. It looked really brutal. Oh, man. It looked like he just hit the back of his head. I'm sure he was seeing stars. Janela gets a 2 count. JR quips. Omega broke his fall on the ladder with his head. Good stuff, JR. Then there's this nice bouye spot where these guys just friggin' lay it in for like 10 strikes apiece. Slaps, forearms, some elbows, punches. And while they're doing this, we get a Terminator clap. And they proceed to continue to nail each other with stiff shots. Janela hits Omega with a forearm to the jaw. Owens responds with a knee to Janela's jaw. Janela hits Omega with an elbow. Omega then responds with a V-trigger to Janela. Wham! Omega attempts a V-trigger, but Janela dodges and hits a clothesline and a suplex for a nice 2 count. An AEW chant breaks out. Janela places Omega on the top ropes and nails a superplex. Both guys are now selling on the mat. They've taken some friggin' shots for the last few minutes, and I'm glad they're selling here. Really good job. Omega rolls out of the ring and onto the bridge table, and I was thinking, this could be trouble for Omega. Janela gets out on the apron with him and attempts a Russian leg sweep that would put Omega through the table, but Omega holds onto the ropes, and Janela will bump to the floor. Back in the ring, Let's see here. Back in the ring, Omega places the other table in the middle of the ring. Omega attempts a powerbomb to Janela onto the table, but Janela reverses that into a backdrop to Omega onto the table. Janela follows that up with a Death Valley driver to Omega onto the ladder. Let's see. Janela sets up that same table. He actually sets it up to where it's not up on the floor, and then he grabs a chair. Janela jams the chair into Omega's back a couple of times and punches Omega a few times. Janela sets up that ladder next to the setup table. Janela places Omega on the table and punches Omega a few times. Janela climbs the ladder, and right now he's about one rung from the top, I think. And he misses a 5-star frog splash. Wow, wham! Just freaking misses it. The table just obliterates. It's all in pieces. You can see it just looks like freaking mayhem in the ring right now. So and in the process, Joey Janela becomes a paradox. JR quips, 5-star frog splash meets wood, and the crowd pops for this because they just love mayhem and love a guy missing a frog splash, I guess. But it's still a nice looking spot. This match is getting really fun. Lots of stiff shots, great moves are being used, executing the weapons perfectly. This match is getting really fun. I think they're starting to elevate it here. And can they do more? Of course they can. Owens hits a buckle bomb and a spine buster bomb on Janela for a 2 count. Omega's firing up, and he does a really good job of getting the crowd riled up. I'm going to talk about that in the aftermath. I don't know how he does it. Omega nails Janela with a V trigger. I like the setup where he points at you like he's going to shoot you. He has his other hand in the air like, here we go. And then the crowd, and the good thing about that is that the crowd knows what's coming. And that's another topic I'm going to bring up in the aftermath. After the V trigger, Owens attempts a one-winged angel, but Janela escapes and throws Omega neck first onto Brett's rope. He's in the corner, selling. And Janela runs the ropes, but gets caught by a jumping knee from Omega. Omega then runs the ropes and does that Dean Ambrose spot in the ropes and then nails Janela with a clothesline. Omega hits Janela with a paradigm shift for a 2 count. So Omega is now doing a couple of moves that Moxley did when he was Dean Ambrose in the WWF, and so it looks to me like he's mocking Moxley. I think JR said something along the lines of Omega's in the ring, probably thinking or making Moxley look at him and go, "Yeah, I'm beating this guy with your moves." You know, and Terminator Clap breaks out. Omega goes for a double arm suplex, but Janela escapes and throws Omega over the top rope and through the bridge table. So now Joey Janela is no longer a paradox. Omega's now on the floor. Janela goes to get him, and back in the ring, Janela places a chair on Omega's chest and climbs to the top rope, and it's a double stomp for a 2 count. A Fight Forever chant breaks out. Janela wedges another chair between the top rope and second ropes of turnbuckles in another corner. Janela sets up a chair and places Omega on the chair. Then Janela makes a dumb mistake. He says to Omega, "You will never beat Jon Moxley." And then Omega proceeds to slap Janela in the face. But Janela responds with a kick to Omega in the face, and Omega bumps off the chair and slumps into the corner. Janela sets up 4 chairs, 2 by 2 and back to back, in another corner. And then, so Joey Janela proceeds to put Omega on those chairs and climbs to the top rope. And I'm thinking this is going to be brutal. Oof. Omega, however, gets off the chairs, intercepts Janela on the top rope, and crotches Janela on the top turnbuckle. Omega joins Janela on the top rope, and both guys, Omega attempts a superplex, but Janela fights out. Both guys jockey for position on the top rope by punching each other and get a few elbows. And Janela eventually elbows Omega off the top rope, but Omega's still on his feet, and this is gonna hurt. And JR says, This is the end. It's going to be the end of somebody, because Omega slams Janela from the top rope and on top of the 4 chairs, right on the part where they're back to back. Oh, that looks so brutal. Like, wham! Just nailed it, and Janela sold it perfectly. And JR couldn't have foreshadowed any better, because that was definitely the end of Janela. Janela will sell that spot over to the corner with the chair wedged into the turnbuckles, and Omega setting up the V trigger, and then wham, he nails Janela right in the chair. Janela hits Janela with the one-winged angel onto a chair, and we get at 26 minutes, 21 seconds, Omega gets the 1, the 2, the 3, Omega wins. Wow, what a match. Omega celebrates, poses in the corner, all that stuff, panders to the crowd. Then there's highlights throughout the rest of this match, and then we cut to black. Oof. Oh, this match was hard-hitting. It was stiff. Really fucking good. Lots of back and forth. Great use of the tables, ladders, and chairs. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen the chairs used that way with them being back-to-back. I've seen it the other way where they're like the seat, right? But this one, oh, that was great. And Janela was just done after that. Okay, so I was the selling of this match isn't a priority, but it is a priority to me. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind modern matches, but I kind of grew up with the matches being told with stories, and the stories are, a guy has the heat, the other guy takes a beating for a little bit. Then he puts the heat back on his opponent, beats him up for a little bit. And I get some matches don't or have the back and forth, and I can appreciate that. But sometimes you got to be able to sell some spots to make them look, or sell moves to make them look impactful. Those chair shots early in the match on Omega was in control right away. It just kind of like makes me cringe a little bit. It makes me roll my eyes. Do those chair shots hurt? I don't know. It looked like it. When Omega took those two shots into the ladder via Irish whips, it was almost like about a minute later he was back in control. Like he was selling him a little bit by walking around, like he was selling him, but like Janela should have like a little bit, should add a couple more moves to it. I would imagine a match like this can still be as effective with a little bit less back and forth, and just sell some of these spots a little bit better. The selling really is my only nitpick with this match. The match was freaking great. I still loved it. Don't get me wrong. But I will forgive a little bit of the selling because the last 10 minutes, these guys were bumping their asses off and they were selling everything. The last 10 minutes were freaking great. So, I gave the match an 8. I was giving it a 9. I was really thinking about a 10 too, but like the selling really it means too much to me. It's also subjective towards myself. I'm sure anybody else could watch the match and give it a 10. I don't know what to say. Just sell the impact of the moves. That's all I ask. But beyond all that, the story played out like Omega wanted. He wanted to win, and he got it. Also, maybe Omega was thinking, I got on a sanction match coming up with John Moxley, and I want to have a little warm-up on sanction match. So maybe this is like a little warm-up match. So, hey, I mean, what a better way to get used to a sanction match than by having a sanction matches? I mean, Moxley's violent. Might as well get violent, too, and Joey Janela's violent. You taste a little bit of Janela's violence, and you're going to get, you're going to build up your stamina for violence. So that was kind of like a story was played out here. So that's pretty good. But don't get me wrong, both these guys knocked this match out of the park. So congratulations to both of them. My RW partners keep sending me these great matches to review, and I'm never going to get enough of it. So keep it up, Dylan and Chris. I love this stuff. And I'm going to go to a couple topics that I brought up earlier. So Omega and Janela are two different ways. They're two different ways of firing up the crowd. Whereas Omega was doing hand gestures, and he already has like things that he does to set up his move. Like he does the V trigger, right? He holds the gun, the pointy gun thing, and has his other hand got this up in the air, and the crowd knows what's coming, right? He also has these. I mean, he can make gestures so like simply slow clapping. He did this at one point in the match. He's just doing this, and the crowd was right on it. The Terminator clap, that spot is great, and he's just really good at firing a crowd up. He was talking shit in the ring. The crowd responded. He would just, like I said, he would do hand gestures. The crowd responded. And it's not like Joey Janela couldn't do that, but like he's not on the same level as Omega. If Janela was over, or maybe at the point Janela was over, whatever Janela figures out is his signature gesture or whatever, he'll have the same reaction. But Janela seems to be over here. I don't know much about him other than he has bad boy vision, apparently. I haven't seen many of his matches, but if this match is any indication about how well he can be in the ring, then he's got a future ahead of him. So like I said, good for both of these guys, and the way they get a crowd fired up. My second topic is move setups. So like, there's ways that wrestlers get the crowd ready for their finisher. You know, like with Omega and the V trigger, right? So I was trying to think of like who does pretty good ways of setting up their finisher. I got Austin when he kicks you in the gut. Jake Roberts with his like short arm clothesline, and then he wiggles his finger in the air, and the crowd pops up. Every time one of his matches hits, he does that. Crowd pops. I mean, he's been on AEW and done it, and the crowd just goes crazy. I like it when Seth Rollins gets ready for a stomp because he'll go on like on the side of the ring. He just kind of like he just sort of hops up and down a little bit, waiting for the guy to be positioned, and then goes for the curb stomp. Oh, Shawn Michaels and the Sweet Chin Music. He starts tuning up the band, stuff like that. And those little things add up, and they make a match just a little bit better. Those small details. And like I said, this match was an 8. Like I said, there's a bit more selling, a bit more of a story in the ring, not for the story in and of itself, but in the ring. I probably would have rated the match a little bit higher. So an 8 it is, and I'm going to close with that, and I will be back tomorrow. See you guys later.